guys, Lemmy here. Welcome back to another art video. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the concept of, quote, real, end quote, art. What is it and how do you achieve it? What are the requirements for something to be considered a piece of art as opposed to something else? This conversation stems from a comment that I received the other day. The more I thought about it, the more I figured it would be a good topic to discuss in a video. So this was basically the comment in a nutshell. The commenter said that my anime style of artwork is limiting me as an artist, and this commenter hopes that I know this, that something like anime isn't deep or meaningful art, and that I need to do art that provokes an emotional response in my audience. In all fairness, this commenter actually, I feel, was trying to be kind, as they said that I'm talented and all that, but I need some sort of negativity to push my artwork and myself further. For clarification purposes and trying to be as honest as possible and not paint anyone in a negative light, this commenter never specifically said that my art isn't real or it is fake or anything like that. However, I feel like it's certainly implied, and I've seen comments like these in many websites over the years, not just YouTube, but other art websites that, that art isn't real, or that's not what real art is. So this is kind of piggybacking on that one comment that I got, but it's opening up the discussion to be something more generalized. So my first thought was, well, how does this apply to commercial artists? A huge portion of artists in the world, they make artwork for ads, branding purposes, games, TV animations. Does this mean that all these commercial artists of the world are just limiting themselves and they really should be pushing instead to become some deep and meaningful person that will move their audience to tears? Are commercial artists not real artists because their work has a purpose in daily life? Are only artists who have their paintings or sculptures in galleries and museums the only artists of any worth? I mean, it's kind of funny when you really think about it, because if those artists are being paid to make artwork, how are they not artists? I mean, I don't get that. Also, what is an artist's responsibility in the world? And when did it become that we have to emotionally move people? And yeah, all the best artists in the world push people to the verge of and whatever. But what about what the artist wants to do? Should every artist strive to create something super meaningful? Should every artist set out painting in hopes of creating a masterpiece? And what if you fall short of that? Is the art piece in question considered, then, a failure if it's not a masterpiece? Now, before I continue onward with my thought process, I just want to say that when I discuss this topic during the rest of this video, I'm not going to be talking about art from a commercial perspective. I'm going to be talking about it from a personal perspective, because it seems kind of silly for an artist who on their resume, they're an artist, they do work, they make money, it's what they do for a living. It seems silly to discuss that any further in this video, so I'm going to talk about it from a personal perspective, not from a freelancing or any sort of hired worker standpoint, because in those situations, really, the artists don't get to control what they make, it's what people want them to make. Which I guess kind of has a lot to do with the topic, or what we're getting into anyway. Okay, so here's my thought, right? If you, as a person, live your life in a manner where you are setting out to please everyone else, you, yourself, will never be happy or complete. Happiness comes from within yourself. You can't pin it on other people. If you spend your entire life trying super hard to create something meaningful, there's a huge chance that you will never even make something that will move a large audience to the brink of tears, right? So if that is your goal, your goal is to please this huge audience of people and make something deep and profound, you're always going to fall short and feel like a failure. And hey, if you can make deep, profound artwork that makes everyone cry, good for you, man. But honestly, there are so many pieces of work that I've seen the artist be extremely proud of, and feel like, oh, it's so deep and it's so meaningful and beautiful. And I might look at that same piece of artwork, right? And I might find it horribly, terribly boring, So is that cruel, It may come across that way, but it's the truth. Not everyone will view one piece of artwork in the same exact way. As an artist, you may want a specific reaction from your audience, but there's nothing to cement the viewer into having that reaction. Unless maybe, you kill someone's mom and then make a sculpture with their dead body. Most likely people will not have a strong emotional reaction to something. Also keep in mind how desensitized we are with all the movies and TV and the amount of artwork we see on the internet, all the comics we read and all of that. There's so much stuff to look at and experience. It takes so much more to trigger an emotional reaction. And hey, there is also a chance that you might not even have an audience to share your profound and beautiful artwork with. So to me, making other people emotional with my artwork isn't my priority. Also, basing what you create on what others think art is or want art to be is equally unimportant. And let me explain why. When you're first learning how to art, it's a very personal thing. When you sell it, there's a level of detachment there. But when you're doing art for yourself, it can be very personal. Why wouldn't you want to create something that you have an interest in or an inspiration to create? Why wouldn't you want to set your own goals and achieve them? But wouldn't this be considered, quote, limiting? What the commenter said. And I don't think it is. You see, when you're able to set achievable goals for yourself, you can actually get to your destination. Kind of like stepping stones to get across a stream or something, right? If you have goals that are totally out of your grasp and dependent on other people, you may never even reach your destination, or, for this, the other end of the stream. In that way, you have fallen short or you're not good enough, which is a pretty negative way to look at things. And it's kind of like wading in that stream and trying to get someone on the other side to grab your hand and pull you ashore. To base your art on someone else's potential profound reaction seems extremely silly to me. Why would you have your successes be dictated by others? And what about if you're a hobbyist? Does the idea of doing meaningful art apply to those artists as well? Which artists have to be meaningful or deep and which ones don't? I think if we really just take a step back from our high horses and really give it a thought, maybe people would stop being so emotional about viewing artwork in general. Doesn't that take the cake? Your artwork does not inspire an emotional response, but viewing the artwork makes someone so disappointed enough that they have to take action and comment about it. These seem like conflicting ideas. And there are so many comments about what is and what is not art, and the whole thing seems so absolutely ridiculous and pointless to me. Okay, so as a viewer, you might be watching and be like, okay, Lemmy, since you know everything, what is art? And to me, art can basically be anything that you make. As long as it has some sort of value to someone out there and they can appreciate it for its artistic qualities, that's art. There's performance art, there's musical artists, makeup artists, Whatever you do, whatever you make, can be considered art. Cavemen drew on cave walls, and that is art. I mean, it's not a roller coaster. You don't have to be over 3 feet to ride, and you don't have to make 80 people cry over your picture to be an artist. What you make has value, even if it's just to the maker of it. So you might be wondering, and the answer is no, I don't like all forms of art myself. I personally don't really like modern art. And I'll look at it and I'll appreciate it for what I can see in it, but it's really just not my cup of tea. But is it art? Yeah, totally. It's totally art. If a guy puts 5 rolls of toilet paper and stacks them together in an exhibit, I mean, it might bring one really weird guy in the corner of the room to tears. But does this make him more of a real artist than someone else? And, the answer is not to me. I may not find his work to be all that meaningful, but I'm not that full of myself to think that my opinion of someone else's work is the only opinion that matters. If that toilet paper stacker is happy with their work, then I'm happy for him. If that guy that's crying while looking at the toilet paper is happy, good for him. But I won't stand here telling people what is real, what is fake, what's emotional, what's pointless, or what's good. Art means different things to different people, and people appreciate different things in this life. And for other people not to be able to see something as simple as that concept, it's kind of upsetting. Okay, so here's some food for thought. I was watching an art video on YouTube, and this guy made a comment critiquing the creator of the video, the artist. And it was a pretty standard comment at first, but it became increasingly rude, extremely quickly. Basically, the artist responded, and they were very kind about it and simply said that they weren't seeking to necessarily improve their artwork, but they're kind of just doing their own thing, and enjoying themselves. And the response from the original commenter included a lot of, "You should improve, you need to listen, and you are not an artist unless you." So, since when do you have to listen to what other people say about your artwork in order to be classified as an artist? When do you have to listen to every critique and care about what everyone has to say in order to be an artist? All in all, you don't have to have some sort of magical, mystical unicorn crap going on to be an artist. Anything can be art, and to say otherwise is really silly. That's like saying, hey, that napkin over there with that logo isn't art, but that sign down the street or that mural on the building is. Okay, so you might be thinking, yeah, there are differences between artists. There are professionals and there are hobbyists. But the only difference, in my opinion, is that a professional is someone that lives off of their artwork and makes money from it. And a hobbyist does it kind of for fun or on the side. And that's pretty much the only difference in my eyes. I mean, you don't need to be a mutant with super special mutant abilities like the X-Men or something like that. If Jackson Pollock is a professional artist and he just literally slings paint onto the canvas, then anyone can be an artist, even that guy who was stacking toilet paper earlier in the video. I think that everyone should pursue something that they're passionate about. Don't do it to be the next Van Gogh, Monet, or Picasso, because you'll find that these days it's nearly impossible to really stand out to an audience. Do what you want, do what you love. Push your own limits and set your own goals. Do something that is fulfilling for you. And if someone else happens to be pushed to the brink of emotion, then you know what? Hey, good for you. But if not, oh well. Don't let your self-worth be dependent on the reactions of others. Alright, my rant is done, and I have some questions for you guys. Have you ever been told that your art isn't beautiful or emotion-provoking enough in your lifetime? Has anyone ever told you that you should stop drawing what you're inspired to draw because it's not real art? What do you think the definition of art is? Is there real art and fake art in the world? And, okay, this is the best question. How often do you cry when you look at a piece of artwork? Like, totally, give me a legit answer here. I want like 1 out of 5, 1 out of 50, never. I'm curious to see, how often do people actually cry over artwork? And, it sounds pretty horrible, but you know what I mean. I'm legit curious. Also, check the video description for any updates. I often clear up misconceptions after a video goes up based on the comment section or any questions down below. So sometimes I can shed a bit more light about my thoughts or just clear up something that's horribly misunderstood. And yeah, so I'll talk to you guys real soon in another art video. I hope that everyone found it to be helpful, and sometimes listening to someone talk about something will make you view it in a different way, or sometimes it's just nice to hear that someone has a similar thought pattern to your own. So I hope that helped someone out there, or someone found it inspirational, and I'll talk to you again next week for another art video. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week.